In this video, I'm just going to show you guys a really sped up version of how I create my panels that are available on Spoonflower. So here I'm just downloading some royalty-free images from pixabay.com. So I save them to my downloads, and then I usually take them into Photoshop and adjust some different aspects of the images, whether it's making it sharper, changing the color, changing the saturation, or how light or dark the image is. Many of these images didn't need any adjusting. Sometimes I just like to add a little more contrast to make it pop. And this one was a really pretty paint texture. So now I'm creating my Illustrator document. Adobe Illustrator is the software that I use to create the panels. These panels have prints that are in rectangles that are sized 8 inches wide by 12 inches tall. This is a good standard size for cloth pads. The width of 8 inches allows you enough room to tilt the pad or move it around a little bit so you can get the placement you want on the pad. So now I'm just creating clipping masks out of all the rectangles that I created. The clipping mask will then make the image the right size, and then you can move the box around to where you want it. And on this image I decided that I was going to have it take up 2 spaces because it's just pretty and there's 2 very different cuts available for that image. And you have to be careful if you are going to try this. You need to make sure that the resolution of the images is high enough, and that's why I use sites where it's like you're supposed to be downloading the images for use for graphics, because these are higher resolution images than you would just get from like Googling images that are pretty. When you download those, they're usually never high enough resolution to be able to use for printing on fabric. You could still do it. It might look a little pixelated, and sometimes it looks totally fine. But since I'm selling fabric on Spoonflower, for other people I like to use images that are at least 150 dpi. And when you click on an image in Illustrator, it'll show you up in the header, like the very top. It'll tell you what the DPI is of the image. So I scale it up as far as I can go to make sure that it's not going to be pixelated. So I do a lot of going back and forth with sizing and placement. I'm trying to visualize where a pad would be cut out from each of these blocks, and sometimes I go back and change my mind about an image like this one. Later I'm gonna delete it. These images are pretty, but sometimes when you go back and look at how the scale or the image would fit within a pad, it's not like the most ideal. On the right side of my screen, you can see a panel that says libraries. So right now I'm just scrolling through it and going back to some images that I've used in the past to sew pads with, and it turned out really well. It was really vibrant and detailed, so I just wanted to include one of those, and I think I actually end up including a few of those. Now I'm just going and grabbing a standard 10-inch shape so that I can kind of take a look at each block and make sure that the print is going to look good within a typical 10 to 11 inch pad. So I'm just going through and holding it over each one just to make sure it's an interesting placement. And that's where I decide that I wanted to remove the parrot and the fish and replace those with some abstract paint textures. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I value your time, and my goal recently is that I want to create videos that are relevant to you, that are valuable to watch. So if this is something you're interested in and you want to see a version of this that is slower with more detail, just let me know and I'll try to do that. I'm more interested in creating learning content that can be helpful to you than just creating sewing patterns these days. Although I do enjoy creating new sewing patterns, I think there are plenty out there for everybody to be able to meet all of their sewing pattern needs for cloth pads. So thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!